Hey, what is this?
Xenia's word on the street.
Well, hello, Xenia, us ex-towners. Welcome back. My name is Josh, and this is, again, Xenia's Word on the Street podcast. Wow, as I record this, it's Friday, December 9th, and it's like 20 degrees outside. My wife and I just enjoyed a great lunch downtown at One Bistro, and the wind comes ripping through those buildings downtown, felt it below zero. So I hope you're staying warm, and my prayers are with those of us, or those of you, because I don't, I have to work and even sleep outside, so I'm thinking about you. So last week on the podcast, we talked about letting political discourse steal our joy. And I specifically talked about the milestone of the opening of the new city administration building downtown and how that has and will pave the way for the existing city hall to be remodeled for the police department and the courts. But I did comment on how I wish we could have celebrated that milestone more, or better at least, than we did, because we allowed the political discourse leading up to that decision to steal the spotlight and joy. With that said, though, I got a lot of great feedback in person and email from that episode, and I just want to thank you all for taking the time to send that to me. You can email me at editor@xeniaword.com or find us over on Facebook at Xenia Word. I started Xenia's Word on the Street, the website there at xeniaword.com, not to become a journalist. That is something I am not and do not claim to be. In fact, my day job is in manufacturing, not news or media. My mission when I started the project was simple and remains that to today. It is to engage our community, to improve our community by talking about it. We have a reputation here at Xenia Word to bring things out of just being public record, but actually turning that into public knowledge, especially around our government and what the going on there is. This week, I was reviewing some public records. I was reading through some city council meeting minutes from last month and came across a conversation during one of the public meetings. I think the point of the topic at the time was staffing. They were talking about how to staff to get the grass in the parks and things mowed. But what drew my attention to this conversation was that one of the members of council, and I think it was Louderback at the time, I gasped to even mention his name on the show here, but he was being a little confrontational, comparing Xenia to Beavercreek. What he was implying was, at least from a staffing standpoint, is that Xenia needed to be more like Beavercreek in the conversation around staffing and a number of people. The inference there that Beavercreek seemed to have less employees. I know that's not to be a fact. It's just not the case. In fact, Paris, and they have more by function and a higher pay wages than we do here in Xenia. I mean, they have more people in their planning department and more people in their other departments. And in fact, the reason why it appears that they have less employees was simply because you have to look at the big picture. And you got to look at everything. Sometimes we compare each other, like we compare ourselves to someone else, and we see a car we like, and we say, we want that car. We don't stop to realize when we're comparing their car to our car, we don't compare their car payment to our car payment or their income to our income. There's a lot of things that if we stop and just compare each other to each other, we lose the joy in life, and we really only focus on the negative. We don't ever focus on us being, maybe we're better in certain areas than that individual. But back to this case when it comes to Beavercreek. So if you just compare Beavercreek employees to Xenia employees by just the number at the bottom line, it may look like less. They're paying their employees more than we do, so it's not costing them less. But they also don't provide all the services that Xenia does to its residents. Many people may not know this, but Beavercreek does not even have a water department. They do not provide water to their citizens, whereas Xenia does have water and wastewater treatment, which is over half of the city budget. The city of Beavercreek also does not have a fire department. The city of Beavercreek contracts with the Beavercreek Township for fire services. So when you just look at the number of employees, then the fire department is not even in their budget. It's a line item for a service instead of a line item for payroll. Whereas Xenia, on the other hand, has a top-notch fire department. It is actually admired in the firefighter community throughout the state of Ohio and the nation for a lot of their training, employees around the fire engineering services. So we compare Xenia to Oakwood. We compare Xenia to Beavercreek. It's also done in such a narrow scope. When people say, I'm comparing it to Oakwood because their schools are better, or Xenia compared to such and such city is worse because Xenia's got a higher tax rate, we have to look at the big picture. And the tax rate's a great example. People always compare Xenia's higher income tax rate, meaning and stating that city residents pay more in taxes than other communities. But when you look at property tax and income tax and water all together and compare us to other communities, the cost of living in Xenia is relatively low for our region. We're always right in the bottom few of communities for a low cost of living. I'm just not too sure why we do this. Why do we continue to compare? It's just a human nature. It's a human trait. We're not going to get away from that. But in Xenia, we have a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to work on. We have a lot of things we could do better. We have a lot of things we do really, really well. We have an historic downtown that when you go outside our community into other communities who are struggling with their downtowns, they look at Xenia as an example of how to get grants and how to improve buildings. And it's not because we're perfect at it. They're not looking at us as a perfect model. They're just looking at us as a model, someone to learn from, to get information out, because they view us as successful in many ways when it comes to downtown restoration. The same thing for the fire department. I mean, many of the colleges and things send people to Xenia to do internships because they want to learn from Xenia, through our great firefighters. Again, Xenia's fire division is not perfect, but it's another one that people admire, that it's successful, and they look to learn. And we should be proud of those things. So I'm rambling here, but my point is we need to learn from and study other communities. I agree with that. But at the same time, we need to take into account all the pros and cons, and not just the little bits that fit our political rhetoric or the perceptions. Does Beavercreek have less employees? Sure. Do they provide as many services? Not even close. Other areas of our community are great. Xenia can and will continue to get better. We are top notch in many areas. I cannot stress that enough. So my point is, we need to learn from and study from other communities, absolutely. But we need to learn and look inside too, where we're a leader and we excel at. And we need to appreciate those efforts and appreciate those employees and have gratitude and continue to help other communities as well as they come in to learn from how Xenia does business around water treatment or the fire department or our downtown and our grants. So that's just my 2 cents. At the end of it, let's have a little pride and appreciate who we are, Xenia. Just a reminder, guys, if you go over to facebook.com/XeniaWord, again, that's facebook.com/XeniaWord, click on the events button there, and you'll get a complete list of all the great holiday events going on in our community. And once again, I invite you that if you are hosting an event, either for the holidays or beyond, to share that with us on Facebook. We will add that to our community calendar of events and help you get the word out. Also, it's December. Everyone's driving around seeing the Christmas lights. I saw on Facebook the other day a huge line of traffic over on the north side of town by Xenia Lights. I visited my parents the other night and saw many cars drive by as they're visiting their lights there with the lights on Montana. So if you want to get a complete list of these Christmas light displays in our community, go over to xeniaword.com/Christmas lights. And there we have several homes and businesses who are sharing the holiday joys with you through music and Christmas lights. All right, guys, I am out of here. Have a wonderful week.
This has been the Xenia's Word on the Street podcast. Please like and share us on Facebook at facebook.com/XeniaWord. You can also find us on iTunes and Google Play, and as always, be sure to visit XeniaWord.com for the latest news, events, and views from our community.